Hello, you. Welcome to another Sunday Million highlight show on PokerStars TV. This one from the 26th of June, which saw over 5,500 runners compete for a prize pool of $1.127 million. I'm Nick Wealthall, looking forward to another great Sunday Million final table. Biggest, most exciting regular poker tournament on the planet is right here. We'll start nine-handed as ever, picking up with the very first hand of the final table. And that's how to start your final table, isn't it? Pick up aces in the big blind. It's a neat trick. Now, a couple of players there have just joined the table and not taking part in the hand. They do have cards. That just denotes that they are present but not involved in the action. So, Omsk from Mexico will open on the button. And this is interesting because, as you can see, Macabrio is in a nasty spot here. He doesn't yet know it, but he's got one of those situations where he could get trapped. Eights in the small blind looks pretty good right now. And he three bets. And Dr. Greenish from Norway, one of the few at this final table with some pedigree. He's final tabled the Sunday warm-up twice, winning it once. So obviously a strong tournament player. Will do everything he can to make this look like some kind of squeeze or steal or something. And given that it could be that, given that Dr. Greenish could have pretty wide range here, I think Macabrio from Belgium is going to have to call this off or put his money in. Thinking about it, it's not a straightforward decision. We can see, he's doomed. Well, he's called and left 1.4 million behind. I don't think that's going to do anything else other than go into the middle, especially on that flop. Pretty bad luck for Macabrio first hand up. You battle through 5,500 players and then run into aces on your first hand. He's going to bet. Dr. Greenish is going to call and Macabrio is going to be drawing very thin. Queen of Diamonds won't get it done, and the Nine of Clubs completes the formality that sends the pot over to Dr. Greenish, the Norwegian player, in the chips on the very first hand. Macabrio from Belgium is out in ninth. $9,000 for him, leaving these 8 players competing for the Sunday Million title. And a big chunk of prize money. A couple of hands later, Cementi would move up a little bit. Pedro moved down a little bit. No great shakes there. And Omsk will raise under the gun. Ace-King. Seems like a sensible thing to do. It is summer, just in case you hadn't noticed. The World Series of Poker is going on, which probably affected player numbers just a little bit in the Sunday Million, but still a big, big tournament. And still over the million mark in the prize pool. And the great thing about this is we can find a winner overnight. We don't need to wait 5 months. And 27 minutes of streaming internet magic later, you'll know the winner as well. Spongel is all in. The best name at the final table is in jeopardy, but has the best hand right now. Nines have the edge, so looking to double up. Classic race for him. And doesn't look good now, does it? King on the flop for OMX. The 7 of spades changes nothing. Needs to find a black 9 on the river, or Spongel is out. Take your brilliant screen name and return to Germany with $14,000 swelling your bankroll. 8-handed in the million, hand number 7, 150,000, 300,000. And we would have a deal while the players are 7-handed. Big chop by these players, and I'll give you the details of the payout later on. They're still playing for a chunk of change and the Sunday Million title, of course, so we'll save the payouts until they go out. But pretty big deal, and we're seeing this more and more in tournaments, and you can understand why. There's just so much variance at the end of poker tournaments, and remember, these players have battled through over 5,500 runners to get here. For a lot of them, it's their first big final table. And flipping for $50,000 or something, maybe not quite their flavour. Cementi will open from the cutoff with Ace-King. Ace-King versus nines. No, whoa, excuse me? That has to be a misclick. Very strange fold from Polaco in the small blind. Has to be a misclick. There's no, I can't think of any possible other explanation. And that misclick could have huge consequences for Pedro. whether it's a misclick or a strange fold, because if Polaco was all in, then Pedro would probably fold this king-queen, or certainly might fold this king-queen. As it is, he's going to get himself all in a dominated situation. Isn't it funny how poker goes sometimes? The hidden luck that you never really are aware of. Pedro KL from Bournemouth in the United Kingdom catches a queen. A little bit of South Coast magic for Pedro, and finishes it off with a diamond and doubles up. So it's the opposite kind of luck. He wouldn't have been involved in the hand. He's actually doubled up. It's the fickle finger of fate writ large across this Sunday Million highlight show. 200,000, 400,000 in hand number 11. We're still seven-handed, and Pedro, with his newfound wealth, will take a pass with Jack nothing. Dr. Greenish gets out of the way, and Poker Noida folds the button. Very short-stacked Cimente in the big blind after that loss. Lucky to find a hand. Ludicrously unlucky to run into tens with it, given that, you know, the money's going in pretty much whatever, him sitting there with just a couple of big blinds. So Cimente at risk. Spanish player needs to get out of jail here, and then he needs a few more as well to get back into this tournament. Nobody has a heart, so ace on the river. Well, there's one. It really is that easy. Greenstein from the back pocket for Cimente. And he's got 2 million chips, so not out of this. We've seen more ridiculous comebacks, and just a couple of hands later picks up jacks. So this really could be the march back to big stack glory for Cimente. Dr. Greenish still with that big stack leading the way. Everyone will get out of the way to Cimente, who has the jacks and now needs to defeat ace 10, the hand that was his saviour. There's a parable in that. I don't have the time to decide what it might be. Cimente with jacks, trying to make it look good with a little hesitation, puts the money in. He's going to get called. And with this double up, he's starting to really get back in things. Can his jacks hold? Well, he has the jack of spades, so that is a really nice flop for him. 10 makes it a little bit more scary. OMX looking to crack the jacks of Cimente, and he won't do it flush on the river. The jacks hold, and back to 4 million. Still one of the short stacks, but a long way from having 2 big blinds, or 2.5 big blinds, which he had just a couple of hands ago. Still seven-handed, hand number 16. And if you have a quick scan around the table, this is a little bit of a cooler in flavour of Polaco. The Brazilian player that folded 9s earlier. We don't quite know why. Presumably his cat ran across the keyboard at the wrong time. That is a nightmare. Don't fold these because there we go. It's all right. Relax, everyone. That was going to be a moment of car crash television. Pedro Kale with ace-10 with the decision and a little bit of savant-likeness there. Could quite easily have put his money in with the shortish stack shoving from the cutoff, but he would have run into 2 big hands. Dr. Greenish 3 bets and isolates, and then gets the bad news that Polaco has a monster. Not a huge pot for Dr. Greenish. It is a huge pot for Polaco. He needs these kings to hold up. Otherwise he will be eliminated. So far, so good. And the river is not one of the jacks remaining. So Polaco, the Brazilian player, will take his stack to just under 7 million. Middle of the pack for him. If you'd like to be sweating pocket kings at our final table, we'd like to give you a free shot to get there. Find our free roll by hitting Tourney, Free Roll, and Online Poker Show Free Roll. I'll give you the password later on in the show.
Growing up on the circuit, everyone wanted to offer me advice. When to bet, when to fold, when to raise, what to wear, what to eat. But there was one piece of advice that took me to a new level.
Daniel, don't do anything stupid.
At PokerStars.com, there's a tournament starting every second. Develop your game at the world's largest poker site.
Welcome back to another highlight show. Great to have your company for this one. Seven-handed we are at this final table. Dr. Greenish, the Norwegian player, is your chip leader, and he would stretch that advantage a little bit over the next few hands. Quite a lot of players around about the 10 big blind mark, though, so I think we're going to see some all-in confrontations pretty soon, and probably a bit of stack consolidation. Quite a lot of consonants and multi-syllable words there. Hope you were suitably impressed. 200,000, 400,000 are your blinds. And Pedro KL is all in. Pretty standard shove, I think, with his stack and the button. And Dr. Greenish with one of those calls. Now, I think Pedro's very unlucky here because I don't think a lot of the other players would make this call. But Dr. Greenish is a really experienced tournament player, and he's not afraid to put his money in against a button shove with ace-5. Obviously the right play as well, but I think he'd have got that through against some other players. This looks bad for Pedro. Well, a club will give him a chop, as well as his other outs. Can he catch the river? He cannot. Pedro KL, not much he can do about that one. The player from the UK goes home in 7th place. He takes home $67,000, which is a really, really big sum of money for a 7th place finish. Good stuff from him. We're going to play a little bit of 6 max in the million. Same blind level, hand number 31. Palaku, the slightly odd spot here. He's got 19 big blinds and ace-9. He decides to fold, which I think is way too tight, but I was just sort of contemplating whether he should shove or whether he should put in a small raise and what he should do if someone's 3-bet, and he decides to fold, which is interesting. Dr. Greenish with ace-king on the button. Well, this is a great spot for him. Praying he gets some action here. And Poker Noida could well oblige him. He does. This looks bad for the Dutch player in the small blind with King, Queen. Dr. Greenish in a perfect spot, getting a monster hand on the button. And Poker Noida, something like a 3-1 dog to survive here. But he catches on the flop. Well, what a huge card that could be for Poker Noida. Dr. Greenish has the ace of spades, so the redraw very possible here. But Poker Noida fades the river, and that's a vital suck out and double up for him, up to almost 10 million in 3rd spot. And Dr. Greenish, who would have had a big advantage on the field had that ace-king held up, still the chip leader, but a little bit closer to the others than he was. On to hand 32, OMX. It's actually smiley face MX, but I'm not saying smiley face. It's just lame. Raises under the gun. And you'd think this would be a raise and take it, but it's made the highlight show, so I'm guessing something exciting is about to happen. It is. Cemente's going to shove. Well, this is... It's pretty thin. I mean, I know it's 6 max, so we're kind of short-handed. But, well, he might get a fold. I mean, OMX is thinking about this. He does get a fold. I take it all back. I was going to say he doesn't have too much fold equity here with his stack, but as it goes, his timing couldn't have been perfect. Maybe he knows his player. Maybe he knows that OMX will raise fold strong hands. Whatever, his timing was perfect. And Cemente, remember, is the player that was down to almost no chips. So there's a lesson here, kids. Even if you get down to 1 or 2 big blinds, you should keep focused because the comeback is always possible. The next hand, and Poker Noida with that newly boosted big stack, opens the cutoff with ace-3. LOL 1K12. Which is tech speak for something young that I don't really understand. Write in with your answers, please. I've got the LOL bit. I'm all over that. Makes the 3-bet with ace-6, excuse me. And this is where you don't particularly want to have ace-3, and Poker Noida does get out of the way. So nice timing from LOL. Takes down some chips resistance-free. Hand 34, and Cemente, who's making this huge comeback, may be able to go even further here. Queen's on the button,